Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and today I want to talk about preparing for an upcoming event or conference. So, right now it's the beginning of 2025. So, you might be looking throughout the year, and you already know there's some events that you're going to be going to. You might be going to Liverpool in February, you might be attending the national conference in June on the Gold Coast, or it might be one of my events that you're going to go to throughout the year. If you want to see what I've got coming up, go to tysonfranklin.com. Click on events and the details will be there. I think right now as I'm recording this, there's nothing there, but there will be. Go back and check it again and again. So what I was going to say, when you're going to go to an event, what you don't want to do is work yourself to the point of exhaustion before you actually leave. I actually think the day before you leave, you should actually reduce the amount of appointments that you see, the amount of patients that you see. Actually reduce a little bit so you can flow through the day. Make sure that everything is done. So when you leave, you've tied up all loose ends. Don't cram in more and more patients thinking that is going to be good for you. All it'll do is you'll be really tired. So when you actually get to the event, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be mentally exhausted. And you're probably going to be looking at the event as, oh, this is where I'm going to actually be able to recharge my batteries. And yes, going to an event and going to a conference is a good opportunity to recharge your battery. But to get the most out of an event or conference is you need to turn up mentally in a good state. So tip number one is the day before an event or conference, reduce the number of appointments, see less patients, tie up all loose ends so you can actually leave. So when you do come back, there's not a whole pile of work actually waiting for you. The other part that I think is really important when you're at an event or conference is be present. Is be at the event or conference. Don't be checking your mobile phone constantly. Don't be replying to emails. Don't be answering your phone and leaving the room to answer calls or try to be putting out fires. Just pretend it's no different if you jumped on an airplane and you were flying from Brisbane or Sydney to America. You're looking at least 12, 14 hours where you cannot use your mobile phone to ring somebody. Treat a conference day that might be a 7 or 8 hour day exactly the same. Treat it as though you cannot be contacted. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to turn your phone off, but really be present at the conference itself. And I think this backs up to what I said in tip number one about don't overwork yourself the day before the event. If you reduce your appointments, tie up all loose ends, you may find you're not then having to be making all these phone calls while you're actually at the event. And I know I ran some events through 2024, and there were a couple of times there were people who weren't in the room. We were going on to the next section, and they hadn't come back from lunch because they were still on the phone with their clinic, talking to the practice manager, trying to organize things. I think the other tip too is when you're at an event or conference, plan that you're not going to leave until at least the next day. Don't leave early. I think some of the best conversations I've ever had at an event has been when the day is finished, you're all sitting around afterwards, whether you're having a drink or not, but it's just getting together with some of the people that you've met and you're going over the things you've actually learned. Now, I've been to a lot of events, not just podiatry ones, even outside of podiatry. And I'll see people that the event might be finishing 4:30, 5 o'clock that day. And at 3:30, they're leaving because they have an early flight to catch. I'm like, really? Are you really getting the most out of the event by leaving that couple of hours early? Yes, you might need to be back at work for whatever reason, but is it really that important? Sometimes it's always the same people that leave early. And I actually suggest stay an extra day. Try and plan that you can stay an extra day or at least leave late the next day. So the next morning, so after the event, you can spend time with people that day. The next morning, you can wake up whenever you feel like it. You can review some of the notes, things that you've taken. You can put a bit of a game plan in place on how you're going to implement some of the things that you've learned and then catch a later flight that afternoon. And the other thing I just want to touch on too about answering your phone throughout the event or leaving the room or leaving early and feeling like you must be back at work. I don't think anybody is that important. I don't think you're that important that people must get hold of you, but you must quickly sprint back home after an event. Like I said, if there's a family event on or there's something like that, I totally understand that. But when I've gone to events, usually it's the same people that always leave early, as I mentioned before. Even for myself, whenever I go to an event, I always arrive early, especially if I'm going to something overseas. I'm always there a couple of days earlier so that I'm definitely not tired at the event. But I think it's really important before you go to an event is think about why are you going? What is it that you want to achieve from this particular event? Are there people that you want to catch up with that you want to have some meaningful conversations, friends you need to catch up with? But are there certain speakers that you want to see talk and you really want to hear what they have to say? But really think about if you're going to an event or conference, or it could be a workshop, think about what is the purpose? What is it you want to get out of this so that you can get your brain, get your reticular activating system in gear. So it'll be looking for the things that you actually want to take away. And this might seem like a funny tip. I don't know what number tip this one is. I've lost count. But when you're going to an event or conference, make sure you have your favorite pens available. Now, this is my favorite pen for whenever I go to an event. And I also always have my brain book handy. So that was my 2024 brain book. My 2025 brain book is sitting there ready to go. So that's the advice is always take a black pen, always take a green pen, and I also have a red pen. So they're the three pens that I always take with me to an event. Black's for all my writing, and the other two are for highlighting particular notes so that they actually stand out for me. And the final tip, could be tip number 17, I have no idea now, is after you go to an event, conference, workshop, doesn't matter what it is. After the event, sit down and think, if you did the event again, what would you do differently? And note it down somewhere. So if it's something that you go to on an annual basis, you can read that before and schedule it in your calendar to read it beforehand so you can learn from what you did last time. But like I know when I've gone to events, depending on where they are, I've had tips on what clothing I should take, whether I needed a jacket in the room or whether I didn't, what type of jacket, right down to the colored pens that I'm going to take, which ones did I not take last time. Every time I go to an event, I'm always trying to think about, if I did this thing again, what would I do differently? What would I take? What do I prepare for? Who do I need to contact beforehand? There might be, this is a good tip as well, tip 52, is if there's particular speakers, you might be going to an event where there's a number of multiple speakers, reach out to them beforehand, whether it's through social media, LinkedIn. Let them know you're going to the conference. Let them know you saw that they're talking on a particular topic. Let them know that you're interested in that topic. Love to catch up for a coffee or a beer at some stage after they do their presentation. Most people are going to present love to know that there's people there who are going to be paying attention to what it is that they're going to be talking about. Like the Foot and Ankle show that's coming up in Liverpool. I'm talking on both days. First day, I'm talking about happiness and achievement, independent variables. And the second day, I'm talking about 30 tips that are going to help all podiatrists in their business and career. If you know you're going to the Foot and Ankle show and you're watching this video, please send me a message and say, hey, I'm going to be at the Foot and Ankle show. Love to catch up. So I hope you get something from this about preparing for upcoming events and conferences, especially in 2025. And love your feedback. You enjoying these videos, please let other podiatrists know that they exist. Click the subscribe button and I'll have another video for you later on. Okay, bye.